this guitar was in that one, obviously.
I think it was. It probably was.
Well, that guitar has been with you like since the beginning.
Yeah.
Tell me the whole. In fact, I know, but these people don't. So go ahead. Let's hear the whole story.
Right. Well, actually, this one I picked up after my first album came out. I wish I would have had it for the first album, but at that time I couldn't afford something.
Yeah, you didn't have any money before the first album.
I know, and actually, when I got this guitar, I still couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
It was a real unique situation. So, the shortest version of the story is that my very first trip out to Los Angeles, I was doing a showcase kind of gig. And the big thing was I wanted to go to the Guitar Center on Sunset, because that's like the Mecca.
Sure.
And I'd never been there. So I went in there, I went into the vintage room. Obviously I went straight to the vintage room, and this guitar was like hanging right dead center in the middle of the wall there. And it just spoke to me.
Yeah.
And so I picked it up and I played it, and it was literally that aha moment. It was like, it fit like a glove. Everything about it was right. I had been playing guitars at guitar shows, all over the place.
Yeah.
Kind of searching for that mythical one guitar that everything is perfect, and I'd never found it. I actually played some vintage Strats I was really disappointed in, and it was kind of baffling me. I thought all vintage guitars were supposed to look and sound great and play great. But anyways, this one, everything about it was amazing. And at that time, I had to walk away from it because I couldn't buy it. I couldn't afford it. And it was like so difficult for me to walk away from that guitar. So I think it was a year, maybe 2 years later, I came back and I was doing my first gig. I think it was the House of Blues on Sunset. Or maybe it's the Viper Room. I can't remember. But anyways, first thing I did was go to Guitar Center to see if the guitar was still there, and it was still there.
That's shocking.
I know.
Yeah.
And so I picked it up and I played it. I'm like, yes, this is it. I can't believe it's still here. So my dad was there. My A&R guy from the record company, Jeff Aldrich, was there. And my attorney, who's here from Nashville, Jim Zumwalt. They were all there, out for the show. And they were like, hey, man, we got to go do sound check. And I'm like, I'm not leaving without this guitar. And my dad's like, what? And I'm like, I am not leaving this room without this guitar. I left it once. If I leave it again, it's not going to be here the next time. And he's like, you can't afford that guitar. I'm like, I'm not leaving here without. So the three of them put their heads together and they agreed to split it amongst the three of them on their credit cards under the condition that I paid them back.
Yeah.
So that's how I got this guitar. They split the cost, and I think at the time, I can't remember, I want to say it was like $7,500.
Yeah.
Which, nowadays a 61 Strat would be, I don't know, at least 3 times that, right? But they split it up, I paid them back, and it's been with me ever since.
And it's lost a lot of paint since.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah,
it looked way better.
Yeah, it didn't look like this when I originally got it. You can find some old pictures of me when I first got it playing it, and there's barely anywhere like right here. This is all honest to goodness playing wear. No trickery going on here. And
mileage.
A lot of people don't believe it because they say this just looks so unnatural. But if you watch me play, especially when I play rhythm, I have a really broad stroke with my right hand. And my pick, you can see the scratch marks here where it's still, I'm wearing it off. But it's so beautiful the way the layers of the grain have worn at different intervals. And it's almost like water running over a rock, and it just kind of smoothed it out, It's pretty remarkable.
That's
I love it.
The perfect simile, like water running over a rock,
Yeah, and Fender they built a replica.
Which looks
it's
really
pretty
close.
And when they first made it, it looked even closer, but they couldn't duplicate this, at least not at the time. Maybe they have the ability to do it now because it's actually the wood grain that's worn out at different, levels. So they kind of, wore this out and they stained this pattern on this guitar.
But you ate away
and I ate away at that, right? But, they're really close. And obviously I can tell the difference. If you put them side by side, you can kind of tell the difference between the two. But they really kind of got it. And when I travel and I can't bring this one and I play this one, it really does kind of have the spirit of the original.
Oh, really?
It's like, it feels like an extension of my original guitar.
So you don't even miss number one.
Well, I do miss it. I just don't realize how much I miss it until I get it back in my hands and I'm like, oh, there it is,
Yeah.
It's so great.
That's great. Yeah, that's the one. Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. That is your number one.
Yeah, recently, this is the thing, like, everybody, a lot of guys name their guitars, and I've always had a difficult time naming my guitars. It takes a really long time, especially this one, which is why we always referred to it as the one or whatever, but I actually settled on the name Martha because I feel like, this is a strong lady right here, you know, and the name Martha just sounds like a, you know, an old-fashioned, old-school, strong, you know, willed woman. And I think that's what this one is. So we call it Martha now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fabulous.